bringing stats like a kingpin. MMA knowledge meets his nephews all lean in, breaking down fights, codes that daddy's supreme on. Just a tip show, he's cooking up a dream. Uncle Weezy, he the man, dropping fight facts, got it all on hand. He the stat attack grand, MMA guru, more than just a fan. Wanna know the numbers? Weezy got them cataloged, from the fighters reach down to how many times they dog. Just a tip living, breaking it down slick, hit you with the knowledge, won't miss a single trick. Uncle Weezy, he the man, dropping fight facts, got it all on hand. He the stat attack grand, MMA guru, more than just a fan. Balls deep predictions, he be making those calls, getting in the details, opponents feeling small. From jazz to takedowns, got the whole fight ID. Uncle Weezy spitting truth, no lie, keep it G. Blow the horn, blow the horn. Stat Daddy Weezy not showing no scorn. Fight night kingdom, he wearing the crown. Break it down for the peeps, never looking like a clown.
Oh, yes. What's going on, everybody? It is Friday afternoon, and tomorrow, probably about 24 hours from right now, we're going to be getting the first fight taking place in Baku, Azerbaijan, which is the first time the UFC has ever been there for a live card, and it is going to be a banger of a card. We got 12 fights. We've got a main event in the light heavyweight division between Jamal Hill, a former champion, and Khalil Rountree, who's coming off of a title shot that he had against Alex Pereira last time out. So real banger of a main event. We've got 3 Azerbaijani fighters on this card. And top to bottom, it's got some really interesting fights. The early prelims, they're just kind of okay. But we do have one really good fight on the early prelims with Maxim and Beckov. And then as the card progresses, it gets better and better with every fight. And it's going to be a really fun main event that right now Vegas has got as a pick'em. So I'm looking forward to breaking down these fights with you guys. So here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to take you through a full card breakdown for UFC Baku. Then I'm going to give you my dog pick of the week this week. I'm going to give you Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, who is going to win and win violently. And then we're going to give you a Greasy 4-leg parlay with some meat on the bone. And then we're going to talk to everybody that's in the chat right now and see what's going on with you guys, see what you think of the picks this week, and which way you're going and what you're riding with me on and what you're not. But hopefully we're going to be cashing a bunch of bets this week. Last week was just not great. Down 0.69 units for me. My only money line bet was on Phil Rowe at plus 118. That hit. The only prop bet I had that hit was a 2-unit bet on the Chiesa McGee over 2.5 rounds at minus 145. So that was some pretty easy money. The bets that I lost, quarter unit on Menafield to win by submission at plus 2,500. I'd do it again. And we had Andre Petrosky to win by decision. I thought he was going to be able to have some success wrestling Shabazian, and he didn't. He didn't wrestle offensively all that much either. So that was 1 unit down the drain. And then I also had Shabazian to win by KO, because I figured if Petrosky wasn't getting the takedowns, that Shabazian would be aggressive enough to go out there and finish the fight, because Petrosky extremely chinny. And yeah, he didn't do that. And then the probability parlay last week, which was 3/4 of the Greasy 4-leg parlay, was Hani Barcelos to win, the over 2.5 rounds for McGee and Chiesa. And the leg that didn't cash was the under 1.5 for Brundage and Abdul Malik. Wild fight, wild fight between 2 absolute killers who looked like they were paid not to fight until the 3rd round started. So that was what killed the Greasy 4-legger. We hit the Phil Rowe money line. We hit the Barcelos money line. We hit the McGee over. But it was the Brundage and Abdul Malik deciding not to fight until round 3 that cursed that under, killed the probability parlay, killed the Greasy 4-leg parlay. But we hit the ass shaving of the week in Hani Barcelos. He easily won rounds 2 and 3 against the turbo-washed Cody Garbrandt. And then we got the dog pick of the week was Phil Rowe. So we were 9 and 3 on the fight picks. Ass shaving cashed, dog of the week cashed. but the Greasy four-legger was one leg away, and we were very, very close. So we're looking to hit the Greasy four-legger this week, and we're looking to hit some nice little prop bets this week as well. So I'm going to take you through a full card breakdown here, and I'm going to share my screen with you guys and take you through these fights where I can go to my picks. There we are. And we're going to start with the first fight of the night. Hamdy, the Hammer, Abdelwah going up against Mohammed Usman. You got Hamdy sitting around a minus 155 favorite. Usman plus 135 underdog. The market is expecting this fight to see the scorecards at a high rate at about 2/3 of the time. So the fight doesn't go to decision here, sitting at about plus 170. So, yeah, these guys are lower level UFC heavyweights. You know, the UFC is the best, combat sports organization in the world. So, when you're in the UFC, you're one of the best. But, there are levels of UFC fighters. And this is a heavyweight fight, which is a weird division as it is. And now we've got two guys that are near the bottom of it and not very reliable. With Mohammed Usman, you get a guy that's really kind of going to try to win minutes, because he's not going to knock you out with one punch unless you're Zach Pauga. He's not going to maul you in the wrestling for 15 minutes straight unless you're Junior Tafa. And Hamdy can wrestle, so I don't think that Muhammad's going to have much success with the wrestling. I also don't think he's going to have a lot of success with his boxing because he just doesn't do much. He doesn't throw enough. For a guy who's supposed to be known for his conditioning, there's just not a lot of output or pressure or anything that's going to make use of that really good conditioning that he supposedly has. So I think Hamdy's going to do a little bit more. I think he's a little bit more likely to win in the wrestling exchanges and win some minutes there. And I think he's a little bit more likely to win the bigger shots on the feet. So the pick is Hamdy Abdelwah by decision, but no tracked action, no bets on this fight. Going to be staying away from this one. The next one, Tagir Beckov. The money continues to come in on him. He is now a minus 535 favorite going up against Azot, Kazakh, Maxim. He is plus 420 right now. And the fight doesn't go to decision, sitting at plus 160. I was sitting looking at this fight saying, I want to see what Tagir looks like on the scales. We didn't get an opportunity to watch these weigh-ins live. Nobody was streaming them. But Tagir made weight. He made weight. Maxim was the one who actually looked more like death warmed over on the scale compared to Beckov. So I think that Tagir is going to sub this guy. I think he's going to get him out of there. The level of the grappling is a big difference here, and Beckov is bordering on elite UFC flyweight grappler status. He's very, very good on the mat, and it's not just the ability to win minutes with his takedowns and some top control. It's the ability to get to his opponent's back once he consolidates top position, or the ability to threaten with front chokes when his opponents try to get back to their feet. So Tagir is very good at winning both minutes and moments with his grappling. And while this is on the feet, I think it's going to be pretty well matched. Maxim's got a lot of power, though. So one of my favorite bets for this fight is the fight doesn't go to decision at plus 160. I played Tagir Beckov to win by submission earlier in the week at plus 325. So I think it's Tagir to win. I think it's Tagir by submission is how he finishes this fight. I remember the Charles Johnson fight, which was wild because Maxim almost gets Charles Johnson out of there in the first round. But Charles has elite conditioning and elite durability. That guy has never been finished as a professional, and part of it is because he can go 5 full rounds because he has excellent conditioning. So I don't think there's a lot of fighters that would have had a round 1 like that against Maxim and been able to come back and win rounds 2 and 3. But Charles Johnson is one of those fighters because of the conditioning, because of the durability. So I'm not what I'm saying here is that I'm not saying you should be parlaying Beckov at minus 535 because I actually think Azot Maxim is kind of live to win this fight. If he stuffs takedowns and keeps this on the feet, he can make this a very, very close fight at distance striking range if he can limit the amount of offensive grappling success that Beckov has in this fight. But if he can't do that, he's going to be threatened with submissions. And Charles Johnson was this close to having Azot Maxim out with a ninja choke. I believe it was in the second round, or I don't remember if it was in the second or the third round. But Charles let it go because he thinks he didn't think that he had it. And it was clear when he let it go and decided to start boxing again that Maxim was about this close to being out. So I can definitely see Beckov snatching up a submission here. And on the other side, Maxim's got a lot of power, and he's got a great straight right hand. So Beckov is kind of hittable. And if he gets a little bit careless in the pocket, Maxim might be able to drop him. So Beckov by submission, round 2 is the pick. The bet is Beckov to win by submission. But I also think that the fight doesn't go to decision is a solid look for this fight. Next fight, we got Arina Alexeva. She's back at minus 275, going up against Claudia Sigula, plus 235 underdog. Fight doesn't go to decision here, sitting at minus 105. Not exactly sure what Claudia is doing here yet. Like I didn't see anything on the regional scene that when she was 6-1, I think, to suggest that she was going to be a UFC level fighter. So it was odd to see her get signed. She was treated in a predictable fashion by Melissa Mullins in her last fight. And on the other side, you got Arina Alexeva, who's on a very long layoff right now. How long is the layoff? Let me look at my stats here. Alexeva's layoff is 1 year and 7 months. So almost, it's about 20 months that she's been away from the cage. There's a drug suspension involved in that. She tested positive for increased testosterone. And so while I think that Claudia is not quite ready, while I think that at only 26 years old, she's still got a lot of rounding out of her MMA skill set to do until she's going to be effective at the UFC level. I don't want to fade Claudia Sigula with a 35-year-old Arina Alexeva who turns 35 in 1 week from today. So I don't want to fade her with a 35-year-old Arina Alexeva who only has 7 professional fights, who only has 2 fights at the UFC level, who's coming off of a loss, and who hasn't fought in 20 months. So you got 2 ladies who are at completely different places in their careers. I don't think you back Sigula because I don't think that she has a UFC skill set yet. However, you don't back Alexeva at minus 275 because there's just too many unanswered questions right now about where she's at in terms of her MMA career. She's only fought 7 times in a 6-year career. And that means she didn't even turn pro until she was 28, 29 years old. So yeah, this is a big stay away fight for me. I'm predicting an Alexeva submission in round 2 because she's very aggressive when she goes to the mat. She's got good judo, which is where Claudia likes to get her takedowns. When you see her fighting lower level regional scene competition, you actually see her getting takedowns from the clinch positions, Sigula, and you see her, winning minutes on the ground. But at this level, that's not going to be happening against, somebody like Alexeva, who's got a judo background and high level grappling background, who's got some slick submissions on the ground, and who fights even when she's tired, she's looking for finishes. So I think Alexeva will find this finish. I think Claudia Sigula is still trying to improve and round out her skill set, but we're going to find out a little bit more about where both of these ladies are at coming into this fight. So I'm fine staying away and just kind of taking notes on this one. Next one, Dario Jallesnikova going up against Melissa No Mess Mullins. We got Mullins is a minus 240 favorite. Dario plus 205 underdog. Fight doesn't go minus 135 here. Melissa and Dario fought in Aries FC in 2022, I believe. Mullins got a ground and pound knockout in the last second of round 1. What we saw in that fight is that Jallesnikova is the much more effective distance striker, and that Melissa Mullins is the much more effective grappler. And what this fight comes down to for me is that I think Melissa is so much more dangerous on the ground than Daria is on the feet. Like Daria is going to be the better striker, but this fight could take place at distance striking range for 13 and a half minutes. And Melissa Mullins could get a takedown at the end of round 3, and that might be the fight because Daria's ground game is so tragic, so bad. If you're getting submitted with an arm triangle from the wrong side, that's a very, very bad look, you guys. Bad look. But every once in a while, you're gonna run into an extremely high level grappler with a crazy squeeze, right? Eileen Perez is not a high level grappler with a crazy squeeze. She is a wrestler with almost no submission acumen whatsoever, and she was able to finish Daria Jallesnikova with an arm triangle from the wrong side. Even Montserrat Rendon, who barely has any professional mixed martial arts experience, was able to take down Jallesnikova 3 different times and get over 5.5 minutes of control time out of 15 in that fight. And Dario was lucky to win that fight, and I backed her as a favorite in that fight because I did not think that Rendon would be gi to have any success with the grappling, and she did, and she kept it close. Melissa Mullins is a high-level grappler. She is a 2-time no-gi world champion Brazilian jiu-jitsu player. I think that once this fight gets to the mat, and it will, Jallesnikova is not going to have a chance. So, I like Mullins. I like a ground and pound knockout round 1, round 2, but I could also see a submission. So I'm playing Melissa Mullins to win inside the distance, as well as parlaying her money line. I think it's a great spot for her. And while, a lot of rematches don't go the same way they went the first time, with females, a lot of times they go exactly the same way they went the last time. And I think that this is going to be one of those situations. We have not seen any improvements in Jallesnikova's ground game since Melissa Mullins was able to absolutely rinse her over like a 30-second time frame. So, Mullins knockout round 2 is what I'm looking at for this one. Ismael Nardivv versus Junyong Pak. We got Pak with the -185 favorite. Nardivv +160. Fight doesn't go to decision here, sitting at +105. I like Park quite a bit here, actually. I thought I was going to be on Nardivv before I taped the fight, but Nardivv, he's a good fighter. He's a young fighter. He's got a well-rounded skill set, and I still think that there's a lot of time for Ismael to continue to improve, put together his toolbox that he has a wide variety of weapons in there, and find ways to win fights at this level. He looked great against Bruno Silva, but we do know that Bruno is just done, absolutely done. And the problem with Ismael is when you go back to those 7 fights that he had between the Sean Brady fight in the UFC when he got cut and the Bruno Silva fight, he went 4-3 over that stretch. But those 3 losses, he got finished in all 3 losses, and it was all set up by strikes. Jarrah Al-Salawi finishes him with leg kicks, and it didn't even look like he landed that many leg kicks. I'm like, that was weird because like he just quit at one point, and you could tell that like Salawi wasn't like landing leg kicks like he was Marcos Rogerio de Lima or anything like that. All of a sudden you saw one of them land, and you could tell Ismael took a bad step, and then it was just over. He went down and just covered up after one of his legs gave out. Then he gets dropped by Marcin Bandeller, who is a pure grappler. So this guy wanted to grapple Nardivv. Nardivv was keeping it standing, and he drops Nardivv on his ass. This guy is not a good striker. All of his wins are by submission. And then once he gets it to the ground with the knockdown, then he's able to submit Nardivv with an armbar. Impressive submission win. Park doesn't have a grappling game like that guy, but I'm just saying he's getting dropped by people on the regional scene that shouldn't be dropping him. These guys aren't UFC level. Another guy, Kutsi, a guy who lost on Dana White's Contender Series after gassing out after 1 round. He knocked out Nardivv in the first round. So the thing that I'm seeing here that has me on this Park side is that Park is going to force action. He is a pressure fighter. Because he's a boxer and he doesn't throw a lot of kicks, he pressures forward, he closes the distance, and he wants to be in the pocket because he can trust his durability when he's there, and he has a lot of output, and he's extremely durable, which allows him to be able to stay in his opponent's face, really stay busy, throw a lot of offense, and because he's able to do that, he's able to really wear on his opponents as the fights go on, and when they slow down, Junyong Park turns up. So the big durability difference, in addition to obviously the strength of schedule advantage that somebody like Junyong Park has at this level, 11 UFC fights, an 8-3 record. And, losing the guys that he's lost to are very tough opponents. Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, Robocop Rodriguez, the Muniz fight. Muniz got 11 takedowns and arguably lost that fight against Park. So I think Park can handle him in the grappling. I think Park's pressure and durability and output will allow him to win the minutes and the moments on the feet as well. And I like him to find a late finish in this fight against Ismael Nardivv. So Park by KO round 3 is the pick for this one. Next one, Sukyou Ko at plus 355 going up against Oban Elliott, the minus 455 favorite. Fight doesn't go to decision here, sitting at minus 105. So this is I don't have any action here. Earlier in the week, Sukyou Ko's plus 3.5 points handicap was at plus 205 on Bet Online, but that's moved to like plus 145. So it's not something I'm looking to play right now. I think Elliott can win this one by decision. I also think he can find a knockout because Sukyou Ko has been knocked out in both of his professional losses by guys that aren't really UFC level in Sasha Palatnikov and Hyun-Sul Kim, I think, is the other guy who knocked him out. And Kim is a guy who went 0-2 on the road to UFC. And you know how those road to UFC guys have performed, once they get actual non-Far East level regional scene competition, it doesn't go well for them. And Ko is losing to a guy who's losing in the first round of that tournament to not guys that won the tournament either. So while Ko, I think, can keep this fight fairly close, like Oban Elliott hasn't looked minus 500 against anybody yet. So I think that Oban's got a ton of momentum. He's on an 8-fight win streak. He is only 27 years old. He's 3-0 at the UFC level. He had a great come-from-behind win on Dana White's Contender Series after almost getting finished in round number 2 against Kaique Brito. So Oban's got a lot of momentum, and the recency bias is good. The recent performances have been good. But when you dig a little bit deeper, it's not like he's running away with these fights. Even the Preston Parsons fight, where he won by a 30-27 unanimous decision, you can arguably say that he lost round 1 of that fight, and the rest of the fight was fairly close. It's not like he landed a ton of significant strikes or ever had Preston in any real trouble. But he just kind of did a little bit more in each round and kind of decisively won a decision in a close fight. So, we're betting numbers here, not fighters. That's what the game is that we're trying to do here. So seeing Oban Elliott minus 455 kind of puts him into an unbettable territory, but I still think that he can win. And what's frustrating is that because Ko's been finished in both of his losses, because Elliott's been finished in both of his losses, you could see, this fight finishing inside the distance from either guy. And you could also see that, it doesn't really look like Ko's going to be a finisher at this level. And to be fair, Oban Elliott does have a finish at this level, but I'm really not seeing it either. So I feel like these guys could win by decision. I feel like they could get a finish. So it's a fight from a gambling perspective that I don't want to be on the Ko side because I think it's going to be a value loser. And I don't want to lay anything close to minus 450 on Oban Elliott here. Don't really have a feel on the time props. So this is just a kind of a cop-out pick, just going with Elliott KO2 and see how this one plays out. But my money hasn't gotten anywhere near this fight, nor will it this week. Next one, Muhammad Naimov at minus 240 going up against Bogdan Grad plus 205. Fight doesn't go to decision, sitting at minus 135 for this fight. So I got Naimov by decision. I think he's more technical everywhere. I think he's more likely to kind of win the minutes at distance striking range by being the tighter, more technical striker, high-level kickboxing background for Naimov, a little bit more defensively responsible on the feet. And he lands some big shots, as does Grad. So while I think Muhammad Naimov is the better minute winner at distance striking range, but I think both of these guys have a chance to win moments while there. When we get into the clinch and into the grappling exchanges, I think Naimov is the better offensive and defensive wrestler here. I think we've seen him prove that at this level over and over again. And while Grad we've seen him get taken down a lot on his regional scene footage. People are able to wrestle this guy. Now, the thing about Grad is he's extremely aggressive with his Brazilian jiu-jitsu on the mat when you do take him down. So I think Muhammad Naimov is going to be the better minute winner everywhere. I think he's going to be more likely to get takedowns and top control with his wrestling. I think he's going to be more likely to land the more precise shots and be more defensively responsible at distance striking range. But I think Bogdan Grad is very, very live here because we've seen Naimov slow down in fights, and we've seen Bogdan Grad continue to push for finishes no matter where he is in the fight. And he's shown that he's got that dog in him. He's shown that he can go a full 15 at a high pace. So I think that this is going to play out closer than what the money line suggests it will. But because of Naimov's minute-winning advantages everywhere this fight goes, I like him to win this one by decision. I don't think Muhammad Naimov at decision at plus 180 is a bad look at all. I think that's most of his win equity here. But I think Bogdan Grad has some finish upside in this fight, which makes it a dangerous proposition to lay that money, that juice on Naimov at minus 240 on the money line. But Naimov is the pick. I'm going with the decision because of the minute winning upside that he has. But Bogdan Grad's going to be live for a finish, in my opinion. The next fight, the first Azerbaijani fighter on this card, we got Nazim Satakov at minus 360 going up against Nick Iron Mota at plus 285. The fight doesn't go to decision here. Juiced up at minus 250, so the market is expecting this one to finish inside the distance about 7 out of 10 times. So I've got a bet on Satakov to win by KO. Nick Moda has been finished by knockout several times as a professional. And this is a spotlight opportunity for Nazim Satakov, born in Baku, Azerbaijan. Truly one of the hometown fighters, so to speak. Now, he's been in America for years, but this is where he's from. He's one of the people that has carried that Azerbaijan flag with pride into all of his fights at the UFC level. So the crowd's going to be going nuts when Nazim makes the walk here. And Naz has got a big durability advantage here. I mean, let's face it, this guy, he's never been knocked out as a professional in 12 fights. And he's been in there against some big hitters like Ismael Bonfim, Vyacheslav Borshov, Terrence McKinney, Evan Elder. These guys have got some fucking power. And the Elder fight was up at 170. Let's not forget about that. So I think it was at 170. I think that was a short notice fight. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Don't quote me on that. But still, Satakov can take a beating. You can hit this guy clean. He absorbs 9 significant strikes per minute at distance with a 45% distance striking accuracy. Defense. That's extremely low. So there's some interesting spots on this fight. DraftKings had the Nick Moda decision only at what was it? Like minus or plus 450, I think. And Moda's 5-0 to the decision as a pro. He's definitely the much more defensively responsible striker, and he lands a lot of big shots on the feet. And Nazim is very easy to hit, and Moda's got a lot of power. So I think Nick Moda by decision is a massive number that has got actually a chance to win this week. I think the Nick Moda decision only prop, if this thing goes to full 15 minutes, I'm telling you, Nazim Satakov is not an effective minute winner. You can't win minutes at this level if you're landing 5.4 distance strikes per minute and absorbing 9. And you need, if you're doing that, you better be drowning dudes in the wrestling. And that's just not what Nazim does. He's got good wrestling where he gets 2 takedowns per 15 minutes, but he allows 1.2, and he's only winning 47% of the control time positions in his fights. So Nick Moda wants to keep the fight standing. He's got good takedown defense in order to be able to do that. But Nick's never had a chin, man. He's been knocked out in 4 of his 5 losses, submitted in the other loss. And let's face it, that Trey Ogden fight was a premature stoppage, but he was in a deep arm triangle and he wasn't going anywhere. So, I mean, I think Moda would have even been finished 6 times in his career if there hadn't been that referee error in the Ogden fight. So, Nazim Satakov in front of the home crowd in Azerbaijan. I don't think he's going to be looking to wrestle and try to like positionally win minutes with ground and pound on the mat. I think he's going to be looking to knock this dude out. And Moda's been knocked out 4 times as a professional. So I played Satakov's KO at plus 125 for 1.5 units. I think Satakov wins this fight by knockout in the second round. And I think the crowd's going to go absolutely nuts when he does. But if he doesn't find the knockout blow, I think that this fight's going to play out extremely close. And if this fight does go the full 15 minutes, Nazim Satakov is not a very reliable minute winner. And I think that Nick Moda might be live to keep this thing real close and maybe even win a decision, because one of the things you got to remember is if none of these underdogs cash up until this point, it doesn't matter that they're in Azerbaijan. If Vegas needs Nick Moda to win to bust most of these parlays and it winds up being a close fight, Vegas wins. You guys, Vegas gets what they need almost all the time. So don't think that just because this is in Azerbaijan that Nick Moda has no chance to win a decision. Whether or not Nick has a chance to win a decision depends on how the fights go up until that point. There's a lot of big favorites on this card. And if all those big favorites are cashing, and then we get a close 50-50 fight with Satakov with only 3 fights left in the card, a couple of them a lot closer on the money line, like Bahamondez's fight, like the main event, which is a pick'em. If Vegas needs a parlay buster, they're going to get it. So I'm just saying, be careful if you're going to be parlaying Satakov. And I'm just playing him to win by his best win condition, which is a knockout, a vicious knockout, which is how Nazim wins most of the time. 7 wins by knockout, 2 wins by submission, 1 win by decision. So this guy is a finisher. Looking for Satakov KO here. I think it's going to be a great fight. And I think the fans are going to be going nuts for this one. The next one is Miktabek Oral Boy at minus 151 going up against another Azerbaijani fighter who is on a long layoff in Tofik Musayev. We've got Oral Boy minus 151, Musayev plus 131, and the fight doesn't go to decision, sitting at minus 150 here. I'm going with Miktabek. I like him a lot in this spot, actually. Musayev is a very good fighter. He's got a lot more experience than Oral Boy. He's very fast and powerful and precise with his striking. Really fast, laser-like right hand that can separate you from your consciousness. I believe Tofik has a 19-1 career record to the KO. The only KO loss that he ever had was total bullshit. He got his nuts stomped, and because it was considered to be a legal blow, because it was a weird shot that landed on the chest first, then hit the nuts, and he wasn't able to continue, it was considered a knockout loss. And it was a bizarre fight where nobody threw a strike for the first, 8 minutes. So this guy Musayev is the real deal. Lot of experience in Rizvan, some in Bellator, but a lot of his recent fights have been in a ring. Tofik Musayev has not fought in a very long time. The current layoff for Musayev is 1 year and 7 months. So we're looking at, a 19-month layoff since his last win over somebody named Koji Takeda. And his last win before that was somebody named Akira Okada. So Musayev has not been active lately, and he's not fighting UFC level competition lately. The Shabili fight, the Outlaw fight, the De Sosa fight before that, I think Patricky Pitbull even before that. Obviously, not UFC level competition, but very good regional scene competition. So Musayev is the more experienced guy. He's got 11 more fights. He's got about 5 more years of professional MMA experience, and he's been out there against, a whole bunch of really good guys while Oral Boy was fighting, some lower level regional scene competition. So definitely a step up in competition here, but the way that Miktabek fights, with that constant forward pressure, with the ability to take massive shots and frustrate his opponents and continue to move forward, I don't like the fact that Musayev was fighting in a ring. I think that's horrible. If you're fighting in a ring, it's just completely different than fighting in a cage. And somebody like Oral Boy, who's going to wrestle you, who's going to pressure forward, who's going to use his size in order to wear on you. I don't know how Tafik Musayev's cage wrestling is going to look. And the funny thing is, when you watch the tape on this guy, his grappling defense looks good. But the problem is that nobody's pushing a pace against him. Like, they'll get one takedown stuffed, and then they won't shoot another takedown in the fight. And it's like, dude, that's Oral Boy's going to shoot 5 takedowns on you in the first 90 seconds if he doesn't get the first 4. And when he does start getting them, he's going to get them easier and easier the next time. So Musayev fighting in organizations where you're just not going to see the level of wrestling that you're going to see from somebody like Oral Boy, who really does bring it in terms of pressure, in terms of output, wherever the fight goes. You know, it's one thing to be on a layoff. It's another thing to be on a 19-month layoff at 35 years of age, having just fought in a war, from what I understand, and coming back to this type of an opponent. It's not somebody that's going to stand there and let you work your way into the fight. You know, you're going to have some ring rust. Ring rust is not a good thing to have against a guy who never takes a backward step and who isn't going to let you breathe. So while I think Oral Boy's pressure is going to get him into some trouble and probably have him absorbing some big shots, he's already proven to us that he's going to fight through situations that have adversity, and he's going to be able to come out the other end looking really good against young fighters like Mateusz Rombeski in one of the best fights of the year. He lost that one by split decision, and after almost getting finished in the 3rd round, wound up getting a takedown and landing some nasty ground and pound and almost winning the 3rd round back from Rombeski. So, and Rombeski's another young fighter, you guys. I mean, this guy Musayev is 35 years old and he's on a long layoff, so I don't like this spot for him. I think Oral Boy gets it done, and I'm still waiting to see where the line comes because I've seen a lot of sharp people on Musayev this week, and I'm hoping that they keep putting money on Tafik here because I'm going to be looking for Oral Boy to probably either just wear on this guy and win an easy decision, or maybe even finish him late in the fight with that pace and offensive pressure that he brings. Next fight is going to be Curtis Blaydes going up against Rizvan, Big Riz Kuniev. We don't really know what we're going to get from Kuniev here, but we know what Blaydes is. You know, Blaydes is a real heavyweight with real heavyweight hardware. He can push a pace, he can wrestle, he's athletic, and his striking is above average. So we know what we're going to get out of Curtis Blaydes. But I think the side is Rizvan Kuniev here at better than plus 200, because Rizvan is somebody that I believe is going to be able to wrestle with Curtis. And the one thing that we just haven't seen from Curtis yet is him going out there and winning fights decisively without having grappling success. You know, like I think he knocked out Junior Dos Santos on his last UFC fight, and it was like, holy shit, Blaydes can strike, you know. But at the same time, you know, when you look at his career, he's not really winning fights unless he's winning the grappling exchanges of the fights. The Jailton Almeida win, I don't know. I don't even know what that was. I mean, the guy had 3 seconds of success in the fight, and then it was over. But he lost every other second of that fight up until that point. So somebody like Kuniev, who's got a ton of experience, who's got that Dagestani wrestling, but who's also got a really good clinch game. It appears that he's eaten all the steroids in Dagestan, and he looks good coming into this fight. He's a unit. He's a big heavyweight, and he can have a lot of success in the clinch. I think he can wear on Curtis. I think it's going to be debatable on which one of these guys winds up getting the takedowns and ends up in top position. And right now, I rate Kuniev's durability as a lot more reliable than Blaydes. So the pick is Blaydes by decision, because I think that he's just proven so much more. And this is a big strength of schedule and UFC experience advantage on the Blaydes side. And I think he's probably going to be the better minute winner at distance striking range. And because he's a good wrestler, I don't see Rizvan, rinsing him in the wrestling. But I also feel like the clinch is going to be a big part of this fight. And if Big Riz can have success in the clinch, it's going to make Curtis wear down a lot quicker than he normally would. And I think that's when you're going to see Rizvan start to turn up. So while I'm picking Blaydes, the bet is Rizvan Kuniev's money line. Next fight, the co-main event of the evening, Fiziev Bahamondes. We got Fiziev. A lot of money coming in on Ignacio right now as he was sitting around minus 120, minus 130. The market has pushed him to about minus 150 right now. I'm picking a Bahamondes decision. I think we could see a late finish from Bahamondes. And the reason I'm picking him here is while I think Fiziev is going to keep the striking exchanges of this fight extremely close and probably even win them, Ignacio is starting to show a more well-rounded skill set. And one of the things that we're seeing from him is being able to finish fights that get to the ground, whether he's on top, whether he's on bottom. This guy's Brazilian jiu-jitsu is getting to be very dangerous. And not only that, he's got that length that you can't teach length. And he's going to be 7 inches taller than Fiziev here. So while Fiziev is explosive and looking to close that distance and land strikes and do it with kicks in a lot of cases, I think we're going to see Bahamondes try to push a little bit of a grappling heavy pace in this fight so that he can maintain range with his height and his reach, cause Fiziev to be the one to have to go first and then be able to react off of that either with counter strikes or with wrestling entries. While I don't really know where Ignacio's wrestling is, I do know that the Brazilian jiu-jitsu, obviously we saw it in the Turner fight. I was hearing that was what he wanted to do in that fight as well. And it was like almost as if he pulled guard there. It was like, all right, I'm going to shoot for a takedown here, but I don't care if I wind up on top or on bottom. He regains guard. He winds up swiveling his hips, and he looks like he's going for an armbar, and bam, he locks up a triangle. So, yeah, and I mean, like, Jalen tapped quick. So I do think that Bahamondes might be live for a submission here. I think that this fight's going to probably take place in the grappling positions a little bit more than people think it will. And because of that, I'm going to favor the younger, taller, longer fighter with a much more positive career trajectory right now compared to Fiziev, who I think he's got a lot to prove, having blown out his knee recently and having to rehab that injury. He's on a 3-fight losing streak, but those 3 losses aren't bad losses. One was because of an injury against Gamrot, and then the other 2 were very, very close fights against a top 5 welter or lightweight in Justin Gaethje. So while Fiziev does have a negative career trajectory and not a lot of momentum coming into this fight, we have to remember he was fighting a much higher level of competition than Ignacio was, who does have all that momentum and who does have that winning streak and that new well-rounded skill set to kind of lean on. So it's a fascinating fight, but I am going with La Jaula, Ignacio Bahamondes, the fighting pride of the great country of Chile, and obviously the fighting pride of one of the greatest cities in this country, Chicago, Illinois. Stand up. Valley Flow Striking, stand up. This is going to be a big spotlight opportunity for Ignacio Bahamondes to move into the top 10 here at only 27 years of age with a really impressive combat sports resume that he's built up at this point in his career. So really looking forward to seeing this fight and seeing how Ignacio performs against an elite striker like Rafael Fiziev, who is Azerbaijani as well. So the crowd is going to be going nuts. And I think that Fiziev by decision at plus 275, 280 is a really good look this week, because if Ignacio doesn't make it dominant, you got to worry about the judges being like, all right, and especially since Ignacio is the favorite, they might need Fiziev. So, yeah, you got to worry about the Azerbaijani judges. They're not from Azerbaijan really, but they're going to be the guys that, they're going to be siding with who the crowd is rooting for. And I think that's Fiziev. So anyway, that brings us to the main event of the evening. It's a pick'em, you guys. Jamal Hill against Khalil Rountree. Fight doesn't go to decision, sitting at minus 325, which makes sense. They're expecting somebody to get served here, as am I. I just don't have a passionate opinion on this fight. These fights are hard to call, in my opinion, because Jamal Hill is a extremely talented striker with serious power in his hands. Khalil Rountree is an extremely talented Muay Thai striker with power in his hands and in his kicks. But right now, the biggest difference I see between Jamal Hill and Khalil Rountree is current form of the body, right? Because we know that, I mean, like that performance by Jamal Hill against Glover Teixeira is one of the best, cleanest, most impressive title performances I've ever seen in any division. I mean, like it was just, he put on a masterclass in that fight, stuffing takedowns, throwing tons of volume, had him hurting on death's doorstep a couple of different times. But Jamal Hill tore his Achilles tendon. And then he had only a 10-month rehab to get back into the cage. He gets in there against Alex Pereira, and he predictably loses. Probably one of the freest lines ever was Pereira there. And then he goes on to have a really good competitive fight against Jiri Prochaska. Prochaska wins round 1. I think Hill wins round 2. And then round 3, Prochaska almost gets him out of there. Hill kind of recovers, and then Jiri finishes him. Jamal's got a lot to prove right now. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. He has battled injuries, and he looks slow. He never was a great athlete. You know, he was never the guy that you were like, wow, you know, this guy can jump out of the gym, or this guy, you know, he touches you once and you just die. He never had that. After he tears the Achilles, you know, to fight at this level, you know, everything's got to be going right. Your training has to be going right. You have to have the right training partners. The matchups need to fit your strengths and weaknesses. You know, Khalil's just stronger. He hits harder. He's in better physical condition. This guy's coming in here with double knee sleeves. You know, he's looking like Cowboy Bob Orton in the 80s. He just looks like broken down and slow. And you can't be that if you're going to be like an elite 205er. You can't be broken down and slow. You got to be fast. You got to be explosive. You got to have some power. And we're just not seeing it from Hill. We're just not seeing it. And he's got a lot to prove here. So I want to go with the guy that I think is fighting at a higher level right now. I want to go with the guy that I think hits harder right now. You know, I want to go with the guy that, you know, looks like his body is ready to respond on Saturday and do what it needs to do to get this W, because I just don't see it from Jamal. And here's the other thing. Both of these guys have 50% distance striking defense. You know, and Jamal Hill keeps his hands extremely low. So somebody like Khalil, who's such a precise counter puncher, he really lands his biggest strikes right off of the strikes off of the offense of his opponents. And Jamal Hill is the volume guy. He's the guy that's going to be throwing more. So I think a lot of people slow down their output when they fight Khalil. I don't think Jamal can win this fight if he slows down his output. So I think when Jamal does do what he predictably does very well, which is stay in his face, throwing a ton of volume, I think the opportunities for Khalil to counter and land big with those counters are going to be there. And I'm just worried about Jamal's Jamal's ability to have the proper physical tools to fight at this level right now. I don't think it's there, and I cannot back him until I actually see it with my own eyes, that Jamal Hill that fought Glover Teixeira and Jimmy Crute and Johnny Walker and Thiago Santos. I need to have that Jamal Hill back before I fucking back him with my money. And the Khalil Rountree that can just punch holes through people's faces, he's still there, you guys. He still hits very hard, and he's still got very sharp counters, whether it be with his kicks or with his punches. Great check right hook, a great straight left hand, a great overhand left, and man, those leg kicks and those body kicks that he throws, nasty. So I'm going with Khalil here, and I hope the money keeps coming in on Jamal, because if I can get Khalil at plus money, I might throw a unit on him, because I think that there's a lot of things that favor him in this fight, and most of what it is my belief that he's just ready to fight at this level right now, while it looks like Jamal Hill's body might be failing him. So we did it, you guys. We went through all the picks, and I know you hate me now because, yeah, I picked all favorites. I did, and I don't care. You know, I write up these fights. You know, if I pick all favorites, it's because I think all the favorites are going to win. You know, I put in the work. I look at the strengths and weaknesses. I look at how I think the fight's going to play out, and I pay attention to those lines, and I'll pick some of these guys, if I think that they are going to be able to really win as an underdog. I'm just not seeing it this week, man. So in terms of the Bootsy Collins Memorial Dogs or Barkin Pick of the Week this week, it's tough because we picked all favorites. But what I do want to throw out there is that I think that Big Rizvan Kuniev has got some upside this week. Blades hasn't fought in a while either, so, and the fact that they keep trying to make this fight, something's going on here. I don't know what it is, but like Rizvan Kuniev getting Curtis Blades in his UFC debut, it kind of speaks volumes about what the UFC thinks of this guy, So I think that Rizvan's got a lot of upside here. And I'm thinking that he could look a lot better than plus 200 if he has success in the clinch and if Curtis isn't able to do what he needs to do in order to look like a big favorite, which is usually wrestle. So I think Kuniev, and especially if Kuniev gets on top of Blades, what does Blades look like off of his back? I mean, even Jailton Almeida wasn't able to get him to his back. He just kept trying to take his back, and Blades kept, used the fence really well to, keep him off of his back. But like, what if Blades' back gets put flat on the mat and he's got Rizvan on top of him? I think that there's a lot of different ways that Rizvan can make this fight look really close. We got a big durability advantage there on the Kuniev side. And we've also got the fact that this guy looks to have eaten all the steroids at wherever he was training, whether it was Thailand. I think he was in Thailand for this camp. But I'm looking forward to the debut of Rizvan Kuniev, and he's one of my favorite guys to back as an underdog this week. So I do have a money line bet on Rizvan Kuniev at plus 205, even though I'm picking Curtis Blades to win the fight, which brings us to the last order of business on the full card breakdown, and it's Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. And yeah, I think Rountree would be a good. I think he's actually a pretty good option this week. Bahamondes, I don't think it's a good option because I think it's a big step up in competition for him. Oral Boy, I'm picking him to win by decision, and it's going to be a tough road to hoe going up against the Azerbaijani fighter. The catch weight, I don't know why this fight was moved to a catch weight, but I was guessing it had something to do with Masayev. Satakov is a great option, but he's a massive favorite, so we're not doing that. I'm picking Naimov by decision, so we're not doing that. Elliott, massive favorite, we're not doing that. Junyong Pak is an option with a third-round knockout. Females, not options. And Ulan Beckov, a minus 500 favorite. Abdelwah by decision. So we're down to 2, you guys. It's either going to be Khalil Rountree to shave the ass of Jamal Hill, or it's going to be Junyong Park to shave the ass of Ismael Nardivv. Now, the thing about Jamal Hill is that he's been finished by Yuri Prochaska and Alex Pereira, 2 of the best light heavyweights on the planet. So, but the thing about Ismael Nardivv is that he's out there getting finished by Jarrah Al-Salawi. He's getting finished by Marcin Bandel, and he's getting finished by Vadim Kutsi. So I think that this week's Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week is going to be Junyong Park to move forward, to pressure Ismael Nardivv, to close that distance and not allow him to be able to use those kicks and stay in his face and use that durability advantage and those hands to just put it on Nardivv until he looks for the door and quits like he did in his last 3 losses. I'm going with the Iron Turtle, Junyong Park, to shave the ass of Ismael Nardivv. So we did it, you guys. Full card breakdown, done. Dog pick of the week is going to be Big Rizvan Kuniev, money line at plus 205. Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, Junyong Park to shave the ass of Ismael Nardivv. So let's do a Greasy 4-leg parlay. And it is cashing in at plus 788 this week. So I'm getting a little bit risky, but with no risk, there's no reward, my friends. So we got to risk it in order to get that reward. And here's what we're going to do. Leg number 1 of your Uncle Weezy's Greasy 4-leg parlay this week is going to be the fight doesn't go to decision for Tagir Ulanbekov versus Azot Maxim. This is a very fat plus 160 number. We're looking for either a Maxim KO, but we're most likely looking for a Tagir Ulanbekov submission at some point in this fight. I think there's levels on the ground, and I think that when Ulanbekov takes this dude down, he's either going to get to his back and find a rear naked choke, or he's going to catch him with a front choke as Maxim tries to get back to his feet. So I'm looking for a finish in this fight, and I think that this is a really great line. I mean, like, you look at Tagir by sub has been pushed to like plus 250 on these books. Why not just take fight doesn't go to decision? What if he gets a ground and pound KO? What if Maxim lands a right hand? So we're going to fight props here, or no, we're going to winning method to win by we're going to fight props, is it? Fight to go the distance. Ulanbekov, Maxim, no is now plus 150. That's moved from plus 160 where it was when I set up the banners for this show. But plus 150 gets us to a pretty good number there already. So now if this one hits, we got 3 legs that we need to hit in order to complete it. Leg number 2 is going to be the Melissa No Mess Mullins money line at minus 238. I just, Jallesnikova just hasn't shown any improvement in her ground game, and she's not at a camp where I think she is going to show any improvement in her ground game. Melissa Mullins knows what the job is here. She's going to be looking to clinch up with Dario, to trip her or body lock her and get her to the ground. And then once she's going to pass the mount, she's going to rain down ground and pound, and she's going to shave the ass of Daria Jallesnikova, bust her wide open. We got minus 238 there. That brings this 2-leg parlay up to plus 255. Leg number 3, Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. Junyong Park money line at minus 192 brings this 3-leg parlay up to plus 439. And leg number 4 could be a number of different things here, but I am going with leg number 4 as the top lawyer in all of Kyrgyzstan, ladies and gentlemen. Miktabek Oral Boy at minus 155 brings this 4-pick parlay up to plus 788 on DraftKings Sportsbook. Let's cash this thing. I like this a lot. I like these money lines, and I think that Ulanbekov or Maxim is going to get a sub. So fight doesn't go to decision at plus 150 gets us off to a great start if it cashes, because I love the Melissa Mullins money line this week. I think it's going to be very difficult for Ismael Nardivv to win minutes against Junyong Park, and I think it'll be even harder for him to win moments because I think there's a big durability differential between these two guys. And then I think with Miktabek Oral Boy, Musayev has been away from the cage for too long to come into a fight like this one. He's going to get pressured nonstop. He's going to have to chain wrestle nonstop. And I think he's going to get broken in the second half of this fight. And if he doesn't, I think it's going to be a pretty clear victory for Miktabek on the scorecards here, because I think there's a big wrestling disadvantage on the Musayev side. And I think that the pace that Miktabek is going to put on him is going to be way too much for him to handle. So, yeah, we're looking at plus 788 on that one. And if you guys want to support the work, if you want to thank your Uncle Weezy for coming here for free every week and giving you my picks and putting together this greasy 4-leg parlay, there is a link in the description of this video to the OddsShopper $25 a month subscription that gives you access to the stats packages that I send out every week, the over-under betting models, the prop betting models, the individual fighter stats, the fight write-ups in depth for every fight on the card that deal with trends for both fighters, strength of schedule analysis, distance striking analysis, control time striking analysis, grappling analysis, strengths and weaknesses of both fighters. And we've even got, this new fight stats thing here where on Balls Deep Breakdowns, I take you through these incredibly detailed slide presentations for each fight, where we go tail of the tape. Last 5 fights for Fiziev, where you can look at the last 5, how he's performed, the betting lines, his record to the knockout, submission, and decision, the winning streak or losing streak, the momentum, the layoff. You do that for both fighters. The betting line analysis. You want to know what somebody's return on investment has been over their UFC career? It's right there. What about their return on investment as a favorite? It's right there. What about their return on investment as an underdog? It's right there. So you can see, like how Ignacio Bahamondes performs as a favorite, just okay, negative 4% ROI. You can look at how Fiziev performs as an underdog. Wow, very good. 2-0 with a plus 116. So that tells you right there that, like, hey, Barkin Fiziev as an underdog has been a pretty profitable situation so far, while Ignacio's 4-2 is a favorite, but his average line is minus 231. So he's actually got a slightly negative ROI. You can look at the strength of schedule stats here. How many fights does each fighter have? The combined record in the UFC of their opposition, how many average fights they have, and what their win-to-loss ratio is. The distance striking numbers, where you can see how many strikes they land per minute, how many they absorb, accuracy, comparisons to the divisional benchmarks, all of this stuff, power numbers, grappling numbers, control time striking numbers, control time numbers with just the positions in terms of who's winning the control time positions, strengths and weaknesses of both fighters, a pick in the bets. It's all there. So if you want to join the OddsShopper and get access to Balls Deep Breakdowns, which is a 2 to 2.5 hour show every week that goes through everything that you need to know about a fight with a slide-by-slide presentation, stats, tape study, everything is there. And then you get to read the fight write-up after it's done to know what I'm picking and why. So if you are a serious UFC gambler, if you're looking to really kind of up your game and have access to the best research that will allow you to make better decisions over the long term and help you be a plus EV gambler, click that link in the description of this video. $25 a month. You're going to get access to my picks, access to my Discord, access to the fight write-ups, access to the stats packages, access to 4+ hours of subscriber-only content, including Balls Deep Breakdowns and Probability every single week. It's the best value out there, you guys. So if you want to support the work, click that link. And let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. I've got 144 comments to catch up on, you guys. And I appreciate all 293 of you that are hanging out live with your Uncle Weezy right now. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. I'd appreciate that. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube if you haven't done that yet. That way you'll get updates on when I am going live to do some content here. And consider joining that OddsShopper in order to support the work. The people that are already there doing it will tell you that it's definitely worth the $25 a month. We got my guy Olajuwon Dream in the room saying, "Oi!" And he's saying, "I can't wait to get greasy with my Uncle Weezy. I can't believe it's almost Hood Wolf fight week." And yes, it is, ladies and gentlemen. If you did not hear, it is time for the Hood Wolf. He's back. He's no longer in a dog crate. He is no longer locked up in the pen. He is now going to be locked in a cage with Jackson McVeigh, a LFA superstar, next week for UFC 317. Get your tickets and hide your girlfriend, because Cedriques Dumas is coming to town, ladies and gentlemen. Free the Hood Wolf. He ain't done no wrong. Yeah, man, it's good to see our guy Cedriques out of prison so that he can continue with his philanthropy work. I think he works with kids with learning disabilities, and that he can raise his several different kids from all those different babies' mamas, and really start to get back to what's important, and that's fighting and family life. So it's really good to see the Hood Wolf back in action, you guys. He is back next week against Jackson McVeigh, and it is going to be a hell of a fight. We got Swaggo Froggo. He's in the room saying AS. What is up, Swaggo Froggo? We got Desi Jose in the room saying, "My boy Weezy, leaving absolutely nothing but the nuts hanging out of these breakdowns. Let's go." Rem Dog is in the room saying, "Oi." And he's saying those trumped up charges were never going to stick to the Hood Wolf with Oral Boy as his defense attorney. You got that right, man. Yeah, it's good to see the Hood Wolf back, and he's going to be in there fighting next week. Roger Base Afflicted in the room saying, "In Weezy we trust." We got Forrest Daniels saying, "Go straight Colton G on that like button, and don't forget to milk that subscribe button." Appreciate you, Forrest. We got Brendan Knox saying, "I look forward to this show like Christmas." Appreciate you, Brendan. We got Zila YT in the room saying, oi, what's up, Zila? We got question from Forrest Daniels saying, do you think Rountree deserves his own custom shorts? And should the UFC do this more often for non-champions? Also, why does Rountree have custom shorts and Jamal Hill doesn't? Thanks, fam. I have no idea, dude. But I saw the custom shorts. They're black and white. They've got like a Buddhist kind of thing on there, and there's some weird symbols, and I mean, it looked pretty dope. I like these guys being able to say like, hey, I want my shorts to look like this, and Venom, who's out there doing this stuff. I mean, if they're trying to sell these things, why not fucking do these more custom shorts? And I mean, I don't know if Jamal asked for custom shorts and they didn't give it to him. I don't know what's going on there, but it's good to see these guys getting a little bit of swag on those shorts. And we got my guy Mushroom saying, oh, yes, sneak watching at work to support as usual, Uncle Weezy. It's good to see you hanging out in here, Mushroom. I hope all is well, brother. We got Tom Clark saying, hi from the UK, Weezy, Great Britain. I have a plan, but I can't place any bets till I see where you're leaning. Thank you for the content. It's good to have you here, Tom. We got Olajuwon saying, at Remdog, Hoodwolf definitely needs the caveman as his lawyer. We got Otto saying it's fucking Hamdy and Hill parlay time, and you see the faces there. I love it. Let's go. Hamdy Hill parlay. We got Forrest Daniels saying Uncle Weezy is on time every time. Hashtag never late. That is so true. Mike D saying let's go. Otto saying early evening. We got my guy Marcel in the room saying I finally caught you live. Unc, good to see you hanging out in here, my man. The High Owl saying, oi. What's up, dude? We got Mike D saying, oi. All the way from East Rochester, stand up. And then High Owl saying yes. We got Marcel Sully Prop saying, oi, what is up, dude? We got my guy Dravi is in the room saying, Weezy, what's up, my man? Good to see Dravi, one of my OddsShopper brethren. He's got his own OddsShopper package, and he is absolutely killing it this year. Dravi was on Clint's show this week. He's on the Beat the Line broadcast, which I was a guest on last week. And I know that this dude's got like a 20% ROI, and he's up over 60 units this year with all of his, not just the UFC bets, but with all of his regional scene bets as well. So it's good to see one of the real ones here in the room, my guy Dravi. We got House of Pain, Michael saying, oi, in Weezy we trust. Jacob's asking if I have any PFL action. I do not. We got Marcel saying rigged fight, Unc. I hated it. It is what it is. We gamble. We do our best to do the reads. And, sometimes that's just what happens. That's the tricky thing about betting over-unders is you just don't know how those guys are going to go out, if they're going to go out there and fight like they normally do, and in that one, you see Brundage, going out there swinging for the fences early. Same thing with Abdul Malik on all of his fights, and then neither guy did anything for a full 10 minutes. So it was a rough one. And if those guys had fought, it would have been a massive week last week. But instead, we lose 0.69 units, and it's hard to avoid those pitfalls sometimes, but we got to do our best to do that. Yeah, they absolutely were. Why else look for 10 minutes? I know. It was crazy. Hey, all of you guys, how have you not joined the OddsShopper supporting Weezy? Why? Come on, give Weezy money now. And I agree with this statement. My guy Michael gives me money every week, every month, $25. He's on that OddsShopper. I know my guy Michael hit a plus 5,888 parlay. That take this job and shove it parlay, man. It slapped a couple of weeks ago. Josh Fan KO, cash it. Fight goes to decision for Gustafsson versus Williams, cash it. And what was the other one? Oh, Waldo Cortez Acosta by decision at plus 600, cash the shit out of it. Plus 5,888. You can come along, you guys. There's more room on the bandwagon. The bandwagon is huge. All you got to do is click that link in the description of this video and you can join us. We got Olajuwon saying, give Weezy money now. And he gives me money every month, my guy Olajuwon. We got Sultan saying, El Weezo, the man. What's up, Sultan? We got Brad in the room saying, made it for the live show. Oi, what is up, Brad? Sultan saying should be 10 times better than Atlanta. I don't see how it couldn't be. I mean, like, that main card was so bad. When they keep under affordable all week after getting hammered, I'm off of it. Yeah, I know. Me too. It's going to be the same thing for me. Like, if it moves, then I'll know, okay, yeah, it doesn't look like it's totally fixed. But, yeah, like when you got a fight where that these guys are killers and they price it at like minus 170 and then it just sits there all week. It's like, that means that somebody's betting the over, and you're not betting the over in that fight unless you fucking know something. Humpty Dumpty, says Jacob Cole. Usman decision, says Jacob Cole. I don't mind it, man. Usman decision is a pretty good look. Some of these fighters make $12,000 for a fight in the UFC. You're smoking crack if you don't think shit can be manipulated. Yeah, man, I agree 100%. That's why we talk about the steakhouse bet here on my OddsShopper. It's something that is a very real thing. When you got young fighters that are minus 1,000 favorites, they can make an absolute pile of money by throwing a fight or by refusing to finish an opponent. It's pretty wild, and I agree 100% with Caveman Yogi. Yep, 25K each will do it. Yeah, and I mean, think about if you paid them 25K each to fix it, you know, how much money you could make knowing the result of the fight ahead of time. You know, when you're the one fixing the fight. So they'll try to put people like Jeff Molina and Kraus behind bars for fixing fights. But when fucking Vegas does it, nobody ever gets prosecuted. And it happens all the fucking time. And it just goes to show you, like, if you're trying to fix fights, only Vegas can fix fights, you guys. They're gonna make an example out of you when you try to do it, when you try to profit from it. But when they got their judges sitting there cage side, the judges, they're like, yeah, I think Carlos Leal won that fight against Renat Fakhretdinov. That's how fights get fixed. That's how fights get fixed, and it happens all the time, you guys. Sultan saying Montana in the back is class. We got Brad saying Borat watching this first fight. This is boring. Yeah, it might be, man. It might be a really one. We all lost millions, says Marcel. Oi, says my guy Muhammad, the Hood Wolf in my Discord. Good to see you hanging out in here, dude. The High Owl saying he's on Usman. It's not pretty, but he got the UFC experience, and Hamdy's not great. Yeah, I don't mind anybody that's on Usman this week. I think he can keep it close for sure. Hamdy might make it look easy. Maybe. If he lands a big shot, or if he can get a takedown and really get Muhammad's back flat on the mat, he could really have some success. But I mean, it's a tricky fight. Yeah, Tagir sub. I wanted Tagir sub bad this week. That'll be a nice win for me. Otto is saying Hamdy's absolutely atrocious, but so is Usman. It'll be close no matter, in my opinion, but the judges are giving it to Abdelwah, and that is certainly a possibility. Tagir sub gives 3.5 times returns. Yeah, I got 3.25. I love it. Kamaru winning just last week could be a narrative play for Muhammad this week. Extra motivation, maybe. I don't ever pay attention to narratives. It's just not something that I do. I don't listen to interviews. I don't listen to what people say. I just look at stats, trends, and performances in the cage. Caveman saying, I mostly stick with DraftKings DFS. Hamdy Usman fight is a big fade there. Yeah, they're both very low volume fighters. Parlay almost hit last week. It was close, you guys. It was so fucking close. Will is saying Tagir looked like he escaped the gulag on the scales. I wonder how much longer he'll be at 125. Yeah, man, I always thought he would move up because he just looks so fucking skinny out there. And I think that's why he never fights, is because, like, when you're making that bad of a weight cut, it's hard to fight more than once a year. Arena is good. The way she mize her judo with freestyle wrestling, Russian Ronda round 1 KO. You are misinformed. She's 3 times European judo champ, multiple times Sambo combat athlete. We got Genova 7 saying call the orderlies. What's up, Genova? Good to see you hanging out in here, my man. We got Ulan Beckov is getting that sub, says Otto. Clayton looked extremely good defensively in his loss, and pretty much all round, honestly. And Tagir still clearly won. This might be an all-around easier opponent. Yeah, I do. I do think that. Clayton Carpenter's a very good prospect. And Tagir looked really good against him. We got Sultan saying, I need this Sigula bitch to last the first round. She might not. Who knows, man? I just don't think she's UFC level yet. But, Arena is somebody I just don't trust right now. Super long layoff, drug suspension, depression, suicidal thoughts. And then just she doesn't fight. she's fought like 3 or 4 times since 2019. So that's not the type of fighter that you lay juice on, especially when Sigula's fighting or training at American Top Team. There'll be some kind of improvements. How much, we don't know, but I'm staying completely away from that fight. And she is super handsome, says Marcel, especially more defensively responsible. No mess. She gets it all cleaned up. Hell yeah, man. The cuter the WMMA fighter is, the harder that ass is getting shaved, says Squeaky Puff. How I like him. No mess. There you go, man. Squeaky Puff, I would bet that Sigula's bottom is already clean shaven. Yeah, it probably is. It probably is. Why not sub, says Mikhail Tell. Because if you're talking about Melissa Mullins, she's never gotten a sub as a professional, but she's a high-level grappler. So I could see sub, or I could see a ground and pound KO. So that's why I bet inside the distance and didn't try to pick whether it would be a sub or a KO. We got She Will Leave No Mess. Jung Sung Ho Chan Park, says Marcel. Olajuwon saying, come on, Pac. Let's go, man. Park is a dog, and Nardivv has quit in him, and that's why I like Junyong this week. Skills might be close. Yeah, I think their skills are fairly close. I agree with that. Ko by KO, says Marcel Sulliwap. Watch. It could happen, dude. Oban's been knocked out in both of his losses. Elliott is overrated as fuck, but KO is so clunky. Yeah, he kind of is. Does anyone know if he gives the best bets at the end or something? Yeah, I mean, I just gave you all of my picks and told you what fights I was betting on. Gavin, I would avoid placing money on this. Moy's saying Bogdan round 3. I could see a Bogdan round 3 finish because that guy never fucks off, dude. He just never fucks off. Got to sign up for best bets on Parthenon. You get a nice long shot parlay at the best. On Patreon? No, not on Patreon, Joseph. No, I'm no longer on Patreon. I'm no longer posting there. Only on the OddsShopper, and the link is in the description of the video. SF saying this is in the Abu Dhabi card are low-key better than 316. Yeah, I mean, like, but 316 is pretty good, man. I'm looking forward to that card. We got Robert saying, how am I 50 and I've never heard of Azerbaijan? Yeah, dude, I hadn't heard of it until maybe 15, 20 years ago. And I remember being like, oh shit, Azerbaijan. Where? I mean, I remember getting out the map and being like, where the fuck is this place? You don't hear a lot about it. A lot of those Central Asian countries, Turkmenistan and Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan and like the areas of Russia that, Chechnya and Dagestan. It's a big Central Asian area where there's a ton of people that live, but we don't get a lot of news from that part of the world. So yeah, Uzbekistan is like a huge country. So yeah, there's a whole Central Asian region there that people in this country don't know a whole lot about. Joseph saying Azerbaijan is an ideal place for Naimov. They actually give you extra points for cheating. And why is the UFC investing in going there? Well, because Azerbaijan is really invested in its infrastructure. The Crystal Hall, where this fight is taking place in Azerbaijan, was created for Eurovision, which is it's like the American Idol of Europe, and each country, I guess, gets a representative and they sing. And evidently, this is in Azerbaijan, is where they're doing this, in this amazing Crystal Hall palace that's in Azerbaijan. It's supposed to be absolutely beautiful. So there's some really impressive cities being built, not just in the Middle East, but in Central Asia. Almaty, Kazakhstan, Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan, and then Baku, Azerbaijan is one of those places that's really an up-and-coming area there in Central Asia, just north of the Middle East. They don't invest. They get paid flat for the card. It's a good deal for them. Don't have to worry about venue sales. Oh, that's interesting. We got Will saying Naimov is sneakily big. I thought they would be closer in height, but Naimov towered over him. Yeah, he's a big featherweight for sure. God, why am I always late, says JMO. Let's go, Unks. Give the man money. What's up, JMO? Good to see you hanging out in here, dude. Jacob Cole saying I'm on Grod. He's a dog. I don't mind it. We got Will saying, I do think Grod is live. Looking back at it, the Tajik hat does make Naimov look tall. Yeah, man, those hats are awesome, dude. Mine is 450 on Nazim. The guy's been hurt badly in every fight he's ever been in. I agree, dude. He's not much of a minute winner either. So that's why I bet the KO prop. I think that's most of his win condition. I don't want to call them flukes because he's getting these doctor's stoppages consistently, but damn, Nazim knows how to pull a fluke out of his back pocket. Exclusive Oro saying, missed the balls deep breakdown because what Tio is up at 10 p.m. doing live streaming for his people. Weezy, also 51 Weezy. That's a special number that seems to follow me. Do you have one? No, I don't really have a number that's tended to follow me. Because, you know, I mean, I try to keep an eye out for that kind of stuff. Like if I look at the clock and it says 11:11, I make a wish, you know, and I think maybe I'm doing the right things that day when I'm seeing those magic numbers. 33 is a number that has a lot of significance. 27, you know, 3. These are key numbers, but I don't see ones popping up in my life in what would you call it? In patterns. I don't see it in patterns in my life. Stoned Coder in the room saying, long-time listener, rarely get to catch you live. Thank you for all your hard work, Weezy. By the way, my wife often overhears the podcast. Had to explain ass shaving, milkings, piping, etc. Yeah, it's always weird when we got the wives who are overhearing what we're talking about on the live streams and like, what the hell are you listening to? You know, Stat Diggers goes off the rail every damn week with the milkings and the wiki feet and all that shit. Joseph Gasparian saying, I mean, there's sort of fluke, something unintentional with extremely low probability that happens and he ends up winning. Watch Moda knock him down 4 times and end up losing by rolling his ankle. Who knows, man? You know they want a Musayev win, they want a Satakov win, they want a Fiziev win. We got Jacob saying no way they give Moda a close decision there. I mean, it depends, dude. It depends on what Vegas needs. But I mean, yeah, it's, you know, it's going to be difficult for him to win a close decision for sure. Joseph saying Azerbaijan is one of the most corrupt countries in the world. I did not know that, and I've never heard that before. They send fake blind people to the Special Olympics. Is that true? Is that really true? I mean, come on. That can't be true, Joe. Come on, man. Good line on Oral Boy. He's a big lightweight who got to weigh in at 165, giving him more juice to push the grappling for 15 if it goes the distance. Yeah, and I'm wondering why it got moved to 165. I still don't know. Shabili's kick hit the body. Foot lightly caught the waist on the way down. That's why it was. Yeah, I understand why it was legal because it wasn't a kick to the nuts. It was a kick to the body. It kind of landed right on the chest bone. But it hit his nuts on the way down. And, like, you know, I mean, if it hits you right down there, you're going to be out of commission until your body feels better. So, yeah, it was a super weird situation there. He legit quit. Oral Boy is not going to quit. And R is saying Oral Boy going to whoop him. Oh, yes, says my guy, Grateful Dude. Good to see you hanging out in here, Grateful Dude. I think that's the first dude that ever signed up for the $20 tier of my Patreon years ago, man. So big shout out to Grateful Dude. Big up yourself, my man. Good to see you hanging out. We got Olajuwon saying, Oral Boy with a lawyer's decision. Achromatic saying, Joseph, you're correct. He couldn't continue because of the kick to the body, not nuts. I think it damaged his ribs. Maybe you're right. Maybe I missed that. It just didn't look like a kick that would have finished a fight. Shady is in the room. Good to see Shady with Beach Bump in here. Joseph saying, disagree about the defense. He uses his athleticism to burst back up. Once he gets a little tired, he stays flat on his back. We got House of Pain Michael saying, I had ring rust one time. The doctor says it would go away. Yeah, well, I mean, you got to check the doctor says, man. We got Joe Gasparian saying, plus he's juiced to the gills. Yeah. Oh, you're talking about blades there? Are you talking about blades there? I'm not sure. We got plus he's juiced to the gills, says Joe. Kuniev is winning, says my guy Steven Jackson. Olajuwon Dream saying Riz plus 3.5, plus 120. I don't mind that because I think the fight is going to decision. I think Riz can take a round with offensive wrestling, says Olajuwon Dream, potentially. Joseph Gasparian saying Riz looked huge and in good shape. And Lane is saying the Fiziev fight is off of ESPN. Heard some people say their bets have been voided. So I saw something on Twitter yesterday from a smaller account saying that the fight had been canceled. But I'm not seeing anything on like Tapology. They both weighed in. They both made weight. So I mean, until you see Marcel Dorf say that it's off, it's probably not off. I'm just going to take a quick look on Twitter here and see if I see anything. Let me see here. Marcel. There's Marcel. Let's see if he's broken anything here. Okay. No, I don't see anything from Marcel saying that fight is off. So I don't think that's. I think that's probably fake news. Yeah, they both weighed in. No way after that face-off they looked healthy. Ignacio just moved to -150 on Bet365. Yeah, I know. The money is coming in on Ignacio right now. So maybe there is something going on behind the scenes on the Fiziev side that's causing people to talk, that's causing money to come in on the Bahamondes side. But at this point, it appears to be just speculation. So we'll see. My guy D Spearman is in the room. What is up, D? Good to see you hanging out here. We got Lane saying they did take it off ESPN, but I haven't found anything on Twitter yet. Okay, good. Lane saying only 11 fights listed for tomorrow. The midget Crazy Kev claimed it was off a few days ago. Okay. Ignacio subline went from +850 to +750 as well. I'm hearing Ignacio might be grappling here. I don't think it's alive. Minus guy is 0% takedown accuracy. Just dangerous off of his back. No offensive wrestling. Yeah, he's not a great wrestler, but he's been working on that part of his game. So we'll see. But like, he didn't need a takedown against Turner, and he didn't need a takedown when he got that front choke against. Was that Rong Zhu that he finished with that one? I don't know, but like, he can get it if the opponent wrestles as well. I don't see Fiziev trying to take down and playing his guard game. Yeah, probably. I mean, like, I doubt it. Jamal by decision, 25-minute war, please. That is a wide line there. Colby saying, let's get it, Weezy. What's up, Colby? We got Genova saying, hope we eventually see a return of Khalil's body kicks to a grounded opponent. That was violent as hell. I remember that, man. That was Moda Reese that he did that to on the Ultimate Fighter fight-in fight, when they used to actually have to win a fight to get into the house. So that was crazy. Brandon R. saying, crooked decision parlay. Fiziev, Satakov, Musayev, all by decision, 107x payout. I don't mind it, dude. I think that's a pretty good look. Fiziev plus by points plus 310 in Azerbaijan, that has value. I agree 100%. Lane saying Ignacio by sub went from 1180 to a 1000 on my book. Definitely some fuckery going on. Very interesting. Okay. Did Jamal Hill ever have the makings of a varsity athlete? Yeah, I think he did. I think he did, man. Like, he's tall, he's long, and he's fast. His body never looked like a great UFC fighter, but also he became champion. I mean, the guy's clearly a phenomenal fucking athlete. You don't get to be UFC champion, without having some physical gifts, but you have to stay healthy. Your body cannot betray you at this level, and that's what I'm seeing, man. Jamal could have played college basketball, but decided to start his MMA career instead, dude. And yeah, if you're playing college basketball, your athleticism is off the fucking charts. And that's how Jamal got hurt, because he ruptured his Achilles playing basketball. Who, if anyone, does this catchweight benefit between Oral Boy and Musayev? That's not a question I can really answer, because I don't know who called for the catchweight. Right? Because it was listed at 155, and then on weigh-in day, they're like, oh, yeah, no, it's a catch weight. And it's like, well, no, it certainly wasn't a fucking catch weight, because it was listed as a 155-pound fight all fucking week. So it wasn't a catch weight. Somebody showed up and was like, I can't make weight. Guess who it was? Was it the guy from fucking Kyrgyzstan? Or was it the guy that's on the 19-month layoff, one of the guys that was signed to the organization for specifically this card? So I'm guessing it's Masayev, who might not be 100%. I think Oral Boy's going to run through him, you guys. Both Blades and Kuniev's backs were full of cupping marks. Yeah, some of these guys cup, they do that. But was Kuniev's back full of back knee? That's the question you need to ask yourself. You look at how much back knee Kuniev had in the Ferreira fight, right? He fought Ferreira. He won that fight by decision. And, dude, he had crazy back knee, and then he tested positive for a cocktail of anabolic steroids after that fight. Olajuwon saying maybe Riz got cupping to cover up the back knee from the roids. Yeah, I didn't even see that comment. And, yeah, I mean, I agree. Timo saying, I find it sucks that Junyong Park is the very first fight. There go your parlays immediately. Maybe. I mean, like, what's his name? Nardivv looked good last time out, so maybe. Oral Boy. Yeah, that's how you pronounce it, though. It is Oral Boy. Yeah, and he is the best. He is the best lawyer in all of Kyrgyzstan, for sure, man. We got House of Pain Michael saying, oh, this four-legger, it cashes. This is cashing. Let's go. We got T in the room saying he's got the W. That is a good-looking fucking dog there, man. Good-looking dog there, T. We got Olajuwon saying, great stuff as always, Weez. We got take your job and shove it, says Colton G. We got Brad is saying, not loving this card, but as long as we win, I'm happy. Early cards are fun too. That's for sure. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel, says my guy Mushroom. Appreciate you, man. We got Michelangelo 305 saying, sup, gang, who's shaving ass? I think it's Junyong Park this week. We got Give Weezy money now, says Olajuwon Dream. I agree. We got Timo saying Khalil Rountree actually did amazing against Pereira for 4 rounds, where Hill collapsed in just 1. He did perform better against Pereira for sure. Bradley saying my titty back Oral Boy. Yeah, that's how it's pronounced, my man. Camel saying, how many bets do you do per week, Weezy? It not really a set amount of bets, but I'm like on the low end, I'm usually around 5 units in exposure, and at the high end, I'll be about as high as like 15. I'm a fairly conservative gambler, but I'm active every week, but I don't push things. If they're not giving me anything, I'm not playing it. So I'm still trying to figure out how to best operate in these very juiced betting line markets. And but yeah, I usually am between 5 and 15 units in bets every week. Paul saying, Weezy, what do you make of that first Dario Melissa Mullins fight? Early stoppage with like 1 second left in round 1. Yeah, I agree. Completely an early stoppage without question. But Dario didn't even argue it. It was weird because like if I'm the referee there, I'm fully aware that there's 1 second left in the fight. And it wasn't like Dario was out. She certainly wasn't out. She was moving. So I think it was a bad stoppage. But I also think that she would have gotten the finish in round 2. But yeah, Paul, I agree 100%. Bad stoppage in that fight, so it could have been a different result, if it goes to the second round. These are fights, Like and sub, says my guy Olajuwon, who let the dogs out? We got Marcel saying the Hood Wolf, baby. Let's go, man. We got Mushroom saying, hit the link. $25 is a great deal for all the stats, the write-ups, and all the knowledge of Uncle Weezy. Appreciate you, Mushroom. Those are kind words, man. We got Brandon saying, thoughts on Arlovsky and BKFC? Gonna make a bet? No, I will not. Could care less about BKFC. I like grappling being a part of it. So, yeah, I don't watch BKFC. Hood Wolf got to walk out to the Baja Boys. Oh, God. We got Rolo Tomasi in the room saying, oi, what is up, Rolo? We got Shady saying, Mushroom, cook your dick, be a small meal. You guys are always fighting. Stop fighting, Shady. We got One Shot saying, boring addition of info, but Khalil paid the cost of the custom shorts out of his paycheck. Okay, that's pretty cool. Rolo saying, hey, hello, Weezy. Do you think it's a sin to be a Topuria glazer? No, I don't. I think Topuria is phenomenal. So I don't mind anybody that's a big fan of Topuria. I'm a big fan of Topuria. Oy vey, says Paul Vivret. We said, no, I said, owie. Something new there. Oi. Franco saying, Do you love the probability parlay or the probability this week? I don't know what you're talking about, Franco, but the probability parlay is something that I've already bet this week for 1 unit, and I like the Greasy 4-legger, and I like my take this job and shove it. We got Michael Panza in the room saying, damn, what's good, Weezy? It's been a hot minute. When do you usually stream now? I usually do it 3 o'clock Eastern time on Fridays because usually the weigh-ins are done by that point, and that's when I like to go live for free on YouTube. But my content comes out on OddsShopper. I do my full card breakdown every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central Time, and I do my probability show, which is the plus EV betting show, where we use stylistic reads combined with the value finds on my betting models to find the best plus EV bets of the week. That's at 4 o'clock Eastern time on Thursday. So that's when all my content goes out to the people that support my work. And then on Friday, I show up and I do a quick full card breakdown and answer some questions. Olajuwon, yeah, I know, dude. Went from minus 1,000 over a legend in Hani Barcelos to a plus 140 underdog against Felipe Lima. I haven't taped the fight yet, but something tells me I'm going to have a massive bet on Peyton Talbot next week. Timo saying that's why I find Junyong Park a sus dude to be in the very first fight. He looks absolutely fixable. Asians are always fixable. I have no idea what that means, dude. Have you ever visited France? Do you plan on doing it? I've been to France several times. I've been to Paris a few times. I've been to Lyon. And my girlfriend, who's a French citizen, she's got family in a very, very small town in central France. It's just absolutely gorgeous there. So, yeah, I've got people that I know there. And, yeah, I love France. It's a beautiful country. Rio Sports Bet Pick saying Tagir minus 3.5. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good look, too. We got Stacking Cream saying, "Scud, brother. I don't have a password for my Discord, so I'm still unable to link it up with the OddsShopper." Yeah. But I'm gonna send you a link to the Discord. Somebody else is having problems linking up their Discord. So I'm going to just send you a personal link and give you access to the rooms where my picks go. Rolo saying, I've watched Fight Replay and your show at work instead of taking care of elderly people. Do you think I'm a piece of shit of that? I don't know, man. It depends on what goes on there at work, but I'm sure you're probably doing that. You're doing fine, I'm sure. Sigula is only 26 and trains at ATT with girls like Yana Santos. That line is basically counting on Ronda to spaz a sub. Yeah, I agree, dude. I'm not backing, Alex Sava at those prices at all. But Sigula has got a lot of improvements to make. Her ground game is pitiful. So she can't just, improve and be UFC level in a couple of months. It's going to take time. We got Paul in here with RUSS. Russia. No, I don't know Cyrillic. I know that POEDA. So Rhoda, Russia, Rhoda, Russian Rhonda. That's Russian Rhonda something. My Cyrillic is not great, but I do know some of the Cyrillic letters, and what Paul is saying is something about Russian Rhonda. But then I don't know. POEXAUE. I don't know. I don't know, dude. But Russian Rhonda. Let's go. Timo saying Azerbaijan is a dirty dictatorship built on gas and oil, a Turkish fiefdom. Okay, I did not know that. David McFarland saying Profit Weezy. Thoughts on these? Mullins money line, Park fight over 1.5 rounds, Bahamondes money line over 1.5 in the main event. I think that hits. I'm predicting all of those things to happen. So I like that at plus 374. We got Combat Cash saying, guys, absolutely pipe that like button for our guy, Uncle Weezy. Appreciate you, Combat Cash. Thanks for hanging out, man. We've got Live Dog saying, did you already drop your parlay? I'm late. He likes Tagir, Elliott, Oban Elliott, Nazim, and Khalil Hill over 2.5 rounds. I've got Melissa Mullins money line, Junyong Park money line, Mick Oral Boy money line, and fight doesn't go to decision for Maxim versus Ulan Beckov. That is the here, I'll show you right here. Ulan Beckov Maxim, fight doesn't go to decision. Melissa Mullins money line. Junyong Park money line. Mick Oral Boy money line. That's the Greasy 4-legger. All right. We got Gus B with the flapjacks. We got Rollo saying, do you think the human look beats the statistics in general? You have to watch tape. The statistics do not tell the whole story. You got to watch tape as well. Which fighters are going to be wearing goofy hats? Usually that tells you who's going to win. Yeah, Mick Oral Boy goofy hat. Tajikistan guy, Muhammad Naimov goofy hat. I don't know if Hamdy has a goofy hat. Azot Maxim might have a goofy hat. Nardivv might even have a goofy hat. Naimov will definitely have a goofy hat. Mick Oral Boy, goofy hat. Maybe Fazeev. Maybe Big Riz Kuniev. Huh. I don't know, man. No way Fazeev will pull out of this fight being in his home country for the first time ever. Yeah, probably not. Live Dogs is in the Philippines camping in a jungle by the river. My girlfriend decided to plan it and even made a checklist. She's thought of everything but a fucking sleeping bag. I can't sleep and it's 4 a.m. Dear God. In a jungle by the river and there's no sleeping bag. So you're sleeping on God knows what in the Philippines. Good luck to you, Live Dogs MMA. You guys have fun out there. Any prize picks play? I haven't even looked at prize picks this week. They changed their scoring system, which is going to cause me a lot of work now because they've changed the bonuses for wins, which means I need to go back into my, no prize picks plays this week. Elijah Dream saying Jamal was hitting deep threes in that game before he got hurt. I bet he was, man. He's probably a great ball player. T is saying, thanks, Weezy. Good to see you hanging out in here. We got Will saying Nardivv looks like I did in university with the greasy Italian haircut he had at ceremonials. We got Live Dog saying Park Fight is 100% off of Bet Online and Tapology. Let me look. UFC. Still says 12 fights. And Junyong Park's still there. As is Fizayev Balamundis. Showing up saying, oh, you can't bet against the caveman. And don't forget to smash the likes and give my unk money now. Good to see you hanging out in here, showing up. Never mind. I think it was just, I'd love to be a different place. PFL starting soon, lads. Wish me luck with my Sensi minus 110, Colgan minus 300, and Carmouche minus 450. Let's get it, my man. We got Rolo saying, I didn't know that you visited Lyon. It was a big nest for the French resistance during World War II. I had a great live being live. You know what's funny is when we were there, my girlfriend met with her grandmother, and she was a member of the resistance. And she told stories, to my girlfriend about, what they did in the resistance. It was pretty wild. Yeah. So that's pretty crazy that you mentioned that, because when we were in Lyon, she visited her grandma. How the fuck can you read Russian? I mean, I can't really read it very well, but when you watch enough tape and you're watching those Russian fighters, you start to notice Cyrillic is kind of similar to Greek, so like some of the P in Greece is rho, and it's the same thing in Cyrillic. It's an R. When you see a P, it's pronounced like an R. So I can read a little tiny bit, but barely at all. Jack Tripper, does your French girlfriend wear a hijab or a full burqa? Excellent question. She doesn't wear either. But pretty much like France doesn't have a lot of French people anymore. Let's put it that way. We got Stack and Cream saying, so wheat. That's what I'm talking about. That's why we pay the attention and give this man his money. Get my bread ready, rounders. Let's go, man. We got Marcel saying, hey, champ, I've been following your picks, and I have 4 times my money so far. Keep up the good work. What are we thinking about Charles versus Ilya? Charles, death by KO in the first round. Yeah. So I think Ilya has a lot to prove at 155, you guys. It's a different weight class. His power is not going to transcend, or it's not going to translate as well up at 155 as it did down at 145. So we're going to have to see how he performs up at this weight class. This is an undefeated fighter who thinks that he's unbeatable, but I promise you, he's going to find it harder at 155 than it was at 145. Plain and simple. So I don't want to get too far over my skis about somebody that I think is an elite fighter in Topuria, because he's fighting a guy who's been around forever, and Charles Oliveira is still fighting at a very high level. So this line is very disrespectful to Charles Oliveira, especially considering we've seen this guy fight at 155 once, Topuria. It was against Jai Herbert, and it was a close fight. It was a close fight, you guys. So, yeah, he's got a lot to prove here. I think that Charles is going to be a live underdog this week, but I still think we have to find out how Topuria is going to look at 155. Tagir Maxim goes over 2.5. It could, but I think that Tagir is going to find a sub. Fiziev wore a hat. Yep. Fightful Gabriel Killian says that he likes Nardivv a lot. Okay. That's a bummer because I like Park a lot. Let's see. You got it, Weezy. It said Russian Ronda. Let's go. Okay. Let's go in Russia is Payala. Payahale. Okay. There we go. We got Will saying lots of hats on this card with the Caucasians and Central Asians. That is for sure, man. We got Olajuwon or Live Dog saying Caucasian and Central Asian are the best combat sports athletes. They're very fucking good. There is no question about it. Don't look, I was wrong. They just moved it into position. All right. Laughing my ass off. Shout out Akeem Olajuwon says Albor Shalabi, what's up? I got $10 on Kevin Lee. LOL, why not? House of Pain saying, wait, Weezy, are saying that your girlfriend is wearing no clothes, man? No, I got to find out how to do that. No, she wears clothes. She does. She does. Just no hijab, no burqa. We got Hakeem, one of the most skilled big men to ever play a game. He could dominate in any area. Yeah, in any era. He was picked before Michael Jordan. Timeless skill set. Great post-up game. Jai rocked Ilya with that head kick, but then Ilya slumped him bad. Yeah, he did. But like he had Ilya on skates there for a minute, which, that's the thing. It's a new weight class. You're going to see Topuria was already a small featherweight, you guys. So I know he's got a lot of muscle on his frame, and I know he doesn't like making that weight cut. But, when he's fighting guys like Makhachev and some of these big 55ers, I think it's going to be interesting to see how he looks. Let's see. Don't you remember Malkovich with poker game? Oh, yeah, Rounders. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Air 1 to subscribe. There we go. Give that man his money. Oreo Stell. The reason why the Asians are so good at combat sports is because, have you seen where they're living? It's miserable. Every day is a fight. Yeah, they're in the mountains. It's not exactly the most forgiving terrain. But either way, you guys, we did it. We gave you a full card breakdown. We did a dog pick of the week. We did the ass shaving of the week. We gave you a greasy 4-leg parlay. And now I'm just going to wish you guys that you have a great time watching the fights, that you stack cashed tickets like flapjacks. And if you want to support the work and get access to all of my content, all of my YouTube content, the spreadsheets, the fight write-ups, the track bets, the Discord, click that link in the description of the video. Join up with the OddsShopper community. We'll be glad to have you on board. And I really appreciate everybody that takes the time to click that, check it out, and really support the work. But if you can't afford to do that, hit the thumbs up on your way out, hit the subscribe, leave me a comment down below, and good luck on all your bets for UFC Baku, Azerbaijan. Good luck, you guys, and we'll see you next week for UFC 317, which is an absolute banger of a card. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Take care.